Welcome back to the Dallas Bird Dog Recap Show Season 30 edition. And we have a lot to catch up on. As the last episode of the Dallas Bird Dog, we just were recapping the first 4 games of the season. And since then, the Bird Dogs have played several games. So we're going to do a little bit different format this time around to get all caught up to Session 12, when the Dallas Bird Dogs took on the Kansas City Coyotes. So real quick, let's jump into the league standings. Over in the South, the Dallas Bird Dogs have retained the top spot, going 7-5 so far this season, 3-3 on the road, 4-2 at or 3-3 at home, 4-2 on the road. Currently leading the division. Tijuana Luchadors 1 game back, currently 6-6 with a .500 record. And Bondi Beach 2 games back, 5-7 with the Norfolk Seawolves sitting there at the end at 3-9. Over in the North, the Minnesota Grey Ducks continue their dominance of the league, having an 11-1 record, with their lone loss going to the last place Norfolk Seawolves over in the South. Portland Pythons 8-3, 1 tie. Kansas City Coyotes 6-5, 1 tie. London Royals 1-11 to bring up the rear. So, with that said, we're just going to go recap the last few games here for the Bird Dogs. When they first started off 2-2, they would then go on a 4-game losing streak against Bondi Beach, Minnesota, Kansas City Pythons that put them in a pretty rough spot through 6 weeks, but then they bounced right back to go on a 4-game winning streak with wins against London, Tijuana, Norfolk, Bondi, before a very close Week 11 matchup against the Minnesota Grey Ducks, losing 28-25 with a last play of the game that could have took it into overtime, but just couldn't quite do it. And then Week 12, a victory over the Kansas City Coyotes, 23-17. With only 2 games left to go in the regular season, the Bird Dogs are pretty darn close to clinching the North and making a back-to-back playoff run, back-to-back South Division championship, and taking on that Ultimate Mini championship run. So let's get into some of the player highlights, as a lot of the big names this season are definitely Bird Dogs. Over at the quarterback position, the perennial possible MVP of the season, Ricky Stanzi, is leading most stat categories with 3,890 yards passing, which is good for first place. He's also leading the league with 30 touchdowns, with Zyler in from Bondi Beach, 29 touchdowns just right behind him. Quarterback rating, Stanzi has a 100.6, which is top 5, and he continues his dominance, leading the Dallas offense into possibly another playoff run. He has a lot of help, though, with his duo of receiving studs. We have Ivan Tosovic. He's currently second place with 1,356 yards receiving, with Cliff Burton in the top 10 there with 1,206. 2 receivers in that over 1,000 yards receiving. Defo Leroy is at 541 as the number 3 option there, and tight end from Dallas, Anthony McGuire, the rookie, 482 yards through the air. If we look over at the touchdown numbers, Cliff Burton, number 3 on this list with 11 touchdowns, and Ivan Tosovic, number 4 on that list with 10. The dynamic duo of Cliff Burton and Ivan Tosovic definitely making some plays for this team. If we want to look real quickly at the tight end position, the rookie Anthony McGuire is second in the league with 4 touchdowns, just behind Tijuana's Marito, who has 7. Marito has 580 yards to McGuire's 482. So the rookie making his push to at least be in the conversation for top tight end in the DSFL. If we went over to the rushing side, this is where Dallas started off really slow, but the emergence of rookie rookie running back Dex has, or I should say his player name, Chowama, has really brought the rushing game to give that Dallas a balanced offense. He is currently in the top 8 here with 808 yards on the ground and 6 touchdowns for the year. Nardello, the other running back for Dallas, is currently 8 touchdowns. That's 524 yards on the ground, and has making up a pretty darn good 1-2 punch on the rushing end. Moving over to the defense, Dallas, who again started off kind of slow on the defensive side with a lot of rookies, is making up ground, as Io Torrent currently is the leading sack leader with 11 for the defensive ends and overall defensive players. If we look over on the tackles, Luke Watterson, linebacker from Dallas, number 2 with 95 tackles on the year. And then if we look over at interceptions, De La Bugatti is in the top 5, actually number 4 in interceptions with 5. So a lot of hardware to be earned here towards the end of the season 30, and as the Dallas Bird Dogs are looking for the big trophy, or the Ultimate Mini trophy for that matter, to wrap up season 30 with a championship. But we have 2 games left to go in the season before we can call the Dallas Bird Dogs season 30 champs. But with the offense and defense finally starting to balance itself out, we might have a really good opportunity here for the Dallas to take that crown. Let's go ahead and take a quick snapshot into the season 30, reviewing the last 3 weeks of the Dallas Bird Dog season as they went and took on Bondi Beach, who's currently 3rd place in the South, in a very good matchup. But Dallas, in this Week 10 matchup, went and had themselves an offensive melee. They won the game 45-17 with Ivan Tostovic getting 7 receptions, 128 yards through the air, and a touch. Stanzi had 299 yards through the air, 2 touchdowns. The running back duo of Jimmy Nardello and Tashawama, 81 yards, 89 yards respectively, each of them getting 2 touchdowns on the ground. Over on the defensive side, it looks like Del Bugatti led the team with 8 tackles, solid rookie, 4 pass deflections, and a interception. And it looks like Io Torrent had a singular tackle, but it was a sack to increase that sack lead. Taking a quick look at the scoring summary, it looks like a lot of the damage was done on the ground, with Baneri Teshawami had a 45-yard touchdown run in the second quarter. When then Ivan Tostovic getting the lone points in the third quarter, getting an 8-yard pass from Stanzi. Squidward Tentacles would try to make a comeback in the fourth with an 8-yard pass from Dexter Zayin. That the Bondi having a pretty solid offensive juggernaut as well, but it wouldn't be enough as Jimmy Nardello would get that one run to kind of ice the game, that 42-10, to eventually win the game 45-17. Moving on over to Week 11, we have the potential early matchup of an Ultimate Mini championship on our hands, possibly with the top 2 teams from each division going against each other in a very, very good close game. But taking a quick look at this scoring summary, Minnesota started off first with a Vincent Sharpie Jr. 4-yard pass from Casimir Olez Jr., the returning MVP. Mason Malone would get into the mix with a 1-yard touchdown pass from Olez, and then Dallas would start coming back with an Ivan Tostovic 53-yard bomb pass from Ricky Stanzi to get the Dallas moving to 7-14. Moving in the second quarter, Rodnak Roslav got a 12-yard pass from Olez to put them up 7-21 with Ivan Tostovic coming back, 9-yard pass from Ricky Stanzi to move it to 14-21. In the fourth quarter, Minnesota would get the first points that would end up being the difference maker with a 1-yard pass from Olez Jr. To Janice Lux to put him up 14-28, but Dallas would try to make an admirable, only getting the 28-yard field goal by a kicker at 17-28, and Cliff Burton 3-yard pass from Ricky Stanzi with a 2-point conversion good, and with 2 minutes and 11 seconds to go in the fourth quarter to be their final points of the game, 25-28 loss to Minnesota. Quick look at the offensive player of the game. Olez Jr. had himself a gem with 315 yards, 4 touchdowns, only 1 interception. Luke Watterson on the defense side would have 9 tackles and a sack. Stanzi would have 306 yards on his own with 3 touchdowns and an interception. Say a very good duel between the 2 top quarterbacks, or arguably the 2 top quarterbacks in the DSFL. Over on the receiving end, it looks like Malone had 125 yards, Sharpie had 66, and the rookie Raskinlavov had 87 for Minnesota, with Cliff Burton not quite bringing as much, only getting 69 yards, but a touchdown. Ivan Tostovic doing most of the damage with 92 yards through the air, 2 touchdowns, and the tight end Anthony McGuire with 76 yards, no touchdowns. And in the final matchup of this season so far, up to this point, Week 12's matchup against the Kansas City Coyotes, the Dallas Bird Dogs would take the win with a 23-17 victory, with Ricky Stanzi throwing the ball around the yard with 385 yards, 2 touchdowns, only 1 interception. Looking over at some of the other offensive players, Ivan Tostovic have 137 yards through the air. Cliff Burton was following that up with 115 of his own. And then Anthony McGuire getting 62 and a touch. a solid offensive performance all around there. On the defensive side, Luke Watterson leading all defenders with 8 tackles in the game. Zyragos, rookie, would get himself 7 tackles and a tackle for loss. Debugetti would get himself a 5 tackles effort. And then Io Torrent 3 tackles with a sack to bring his total up to 11, which is a league lead. That will do it for this recap of the Dallas Bird Dog Season 30. We have 2 weeks to go before the playoffs, so join us next time as we recap the end of the season, moving into the postseason and possibly getting into that MVP/other awards of the DSFL, where we think the Dallas will be getting some hardware to go along, possibly with that Ultimate Mini. So join us next time. It's been Io Torrent with the Dallas Bird Dog Recap Show. Take it easy. We'll see you next time.